Good evening, Cherries fans, and welcome to this latest show here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Now, before I welcome on my special guest, here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, of course, Christmas is coming up, and we're all going to probably be eating a lot, drinking a lot, but probably not keeping ourselves fit. So, I have got a special guest on the show tonight, and it is a pleasure to welcome on a leading fitness coach and blogger in Charlie Langdon. Evening, Charlie. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Craig. How are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. And thank you so much for coming on the show. So we've known each other for quite some time, haven't we? And
Yeah.
but there was a picture you showed me the other day, and I'll just flash it up on the screen of what you look like now and what you
Mhm.
used to look like in the past. I can't remember those days because they're so long ago. But
Yeah, I
do
know.
tell us
It's,
how
it's,
you
it's been
started the
about a
journey.
year and a half. Yeah. So, start of my journey. So, it all started, I think, about 3 years ago. I just come out of like a really messy relationship. Just felt quite down on life in general.
Mhm.
So, the picture you just showed, I imagine around here somewhere, I was weighing in at about 75 kilos, right? And I said I was smoking weed every single day to try kind of cope with the stresses that I had going on at the time. And I suppose it kind of just hit me one day that I needed to change the way I was living, right?
Mhm.
So I just completely knocked it on the head, cold turkey. I thought it was very hard, and I just started eating religiously to the point where I was almost being sick every day. But in my head, that was just kind of how twisted I was. I was still like, I need to eat until I'm sick, and then I'll just keep improving on that. Didn't work very well, to be honest. So from there, I just started managing what I was eating, just kept myself at a steady surplus, just so I could gain over time. I think in the time from then to now, so we're talking 3 years, I've managed to put on 32 kilos of size, which you can imagine is quite a lot. So I think that's coming up to about 75 pounds.
Mhm.
I've managed to put on it in 3 years from being literally a pole, like a bean pole. So it's been a very it's been a very exciting journey. So I've learned a lot about myself, kind of how mentally strong I've been over these years as well. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
What would you suggest? So, somebody who is starting out with fitness, who's not been
Mhm.
to the gym, some people that might have never thought about it and not got much body weight, and some people
Mhm.
that maybe are overweight. What would you suggest to them?
Well, I suppose ultimately it depends on your goal. So I mean, being a powerlifter to being a bodybuilder, they're two completely different
Mhm.
things. So I mean, if you're looking at just kind of increasing your size, like to look good down the beach, I'll definitely work more on hypertrophy training. So
Mhm.
that'd be kind of focusing more on the contractions of the muscles. Where if it's kind of just pure size you're looking for, I'd probably go more down a powerlifter route where you're just kind of looking at moving weight, so to say. I said I'm more into bodybuilding, so I said I'll never be a power lifter. I won't ever do massive lifts or anything like that. I said all I'm focusing on is just contractions. But for somebody starting out, I say is just don't be too hard on yourself. As long as you put a little bit of time aside, a few times a week, you will start to see growth. I said Rome wasn't grown in the day, well, built in a day, so to say. So just stay consistent, give yourself plenty of time, and just make sure that you're eating enough where you're going to see small gains over a longer period of time.
But one thing for me, my legs have always been quite strong because of football and
Mhm.
working those out. But in my arms, I haven't got
Yeah.
much muscle at all. So, what would you suggest, to actually build that up and build that muscle there? What sort of regime would you put in place for somebody like that?
So I suppose if you've got a stronger lower body than you have an upper body, my primary focus would strictly be kind of areas where you're lacking.
Hmm.
So if you exactly like you said, you've got strong legs. So I'd probably only work out legs probably once a week if I was you.
Hmm.
Something light, just so you're not trying to push growth too much, just so you don't end up disproportioned. And like I say, if your arms are a weak point for you, I'd mainly focus on working my arms probably 2 to 3 times a week, where I'd kind of chuck a small like blaster workout
Hmm.
just strictly for your arms every other day. So it'd be compound movements like bicep curls, and then I'd do concentration curls, and probably a couple of sets of preacher curls as well, just to kind of always aid that engagement. And then obviously your tricep exercises, you've got skull crushers, which I think are amazing, just to
Hmm.
kind of really engage that growth there. So it puts a lot of force on the lateral head of your tricep around the back, and obviously cable pushdowns as well. Just really focusing on pushing those contractions out and making sure that you're squeezing the muscles to
Hmm.
make sure that you are forcing blood to that area,
Yeah.
and that will ultimately force some growth there.
Of course, Charlie does make a fantastic chicken and broccoli, don't you? We,
I still eat it to this day, funnily enough.
yeah,
I do. I'm sick of chicken and broccoli, but when there's means, you've got to do it right. So yeah, I've managed to spice it up a little bit now. Like I've become one with seasoning. Like I'm always in the aisles, like, right, how can I make this exciting today?
yeah. What sort of things would you suggest other than chicken and broccoli that is good to eat and will help you with regards to muscle growth?
So for muscle growth, I like to keep a mixture of things. So I eat a lot of red meat,
Hmm.
fish, potatoes, pasta. I say I eat about 5 meals a day, so that's kind of how I space it out. So I'll always try to get like a mix of that in a day.
Hmm.
So, for example, in the morning, sometimes I'll skip breakfast. It depends if I'm in a rush or not. But typically in the morning, I'll probably have like a couple of eggs, not massive, and then just a small bowl of porridge. Then coming in towards like first break, 11 o'clock, I just have like a cup full of nuts, like almonds.
Hmm.
And then for lunch, I'll have like my first like big meal, which would
Yeah.
typically be like rice or chicken, or I have pasta, and chicken, rice and meat. And then I'll make sure I always include like the three compounds, which would be fish, chicken, and like red meats, beef, steak, things like that, every single day, even if it's a small amount. But I try to consume them within like 3 hours of each other, just so I can keep my body kind of consuming food, keeping my energy levels up, and again, it feel like it retains a lot more energy.
Is there any particular, well, apart from the obvious,
Yeah.
which is McDonald's or KFC or anything like that, is there any foods just to avoid and just will set you back?
Yes, so, again, it all depends on really what you're. I mean, if you're a really small dude or woman, for example, you really want to put size on, like I'd say just go mad. Like eat what you want. If you've got a super high metabolism, chances are you're not going to be putting on lots of excess fat because it's just genetically not the way your body works. But I suppose for bigger people, I'd avoid like processed foods like chicken nuggets, and just really well crappy foods, pot noodles, like anything in packets. I typically avoid, and if there's a very processed, and then they're not typically going to be good for you. They have high levels of saturated fats in, and generally will make you feel worse the more you eat them. Takeout as well is a big no-no. There is a few, don't get me wrong, that I would recommend eating, but in general, I completely avoid processed foods.
When I go to the gym, and I've been going quite a lot recently, a lot more than I used to, so to speak.
You only have to get
I
once a week to go more than you used to.
Well, exactly, yeah. Cheers, Charlie. But one thing I do is I do try and push myself to limits
Mm.
and really feel that tension. Can you
Yeah.
overdo it? And is sometimes doing baby steps, which are manageable, better than just going, right, okay, it's at the 60 level now. I'm going to push that. I'm struggling here.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, I mean, a lot of people who do go to the gym, I feel like they push themselves in excess, and then they're aching for days, which I feel is really not good. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be people out there that are going to tell me I'm wrong, but I stick to facts. Like, I feel like always staying at probably like a 70% all the way through is going to be much better for you than going 100% all the time. Because when you have a really hard workout, like I said, you're very sore, you've got a lot of lactic acid build up, and then it hinders other things that you do on other days.
Mhm.
So for me, I always stick to the 70% rule. Like, as long as you're kind of pushing more than what you're comfortable with, but not going in excess, that will be the best thing for you. Because then you're going to be able to contract yourself a lot more. You're going to be a lot more mobile when you're doing other exercises as well. And when it comes to other things, you're going to have more energy because your body's not so starved of nutrients through trying to recover those muscles that you've injured.
Is there sometimes as well overdoing it on the amount of days that you're going? I did a stint recently, believe it or not, Charlie, I did a stint that was 9 days long. So 9 days solid. Is that really healthy?
See, I would say it depends on how hard you're working out. Really, I'd say if it's like moderate exercise, I'd say probably not. But I feel like it's always good to give your body a rest, just so you've got a couple of days throughout the week where you can kind of just enjoy life. And more
Yeah.
importantly, it gives your body time to just kind of not worry about stressing itself out, and it can actually aid your recovery a lot better. Like I said, the food that the food that you are eating is going towards feeding those muscles that you've stressed out along the week. So I'd say anywhere from 3 to 5 times, five at a max a week, but 3 to 4 is probably perfect.
How do you track your own fitness goals, Charlie? And how would you suggest that somebody starting off or somebody
Mhm.
who would I call myself intermediate? Probably getting to that point where I'm going a
Mhm.
lot more and build up a bit of muscle, but not as much as I'd like. How would you suggest that they set their goals, and how do you assess your goals at the moment?
And I'd say for somebody else, I just focus primarily on just making sure you're consistent in going. Because if you start really trying to track numbers, you'll end up losing focus on what the primary objective is. And it's just to be consistent. I say somebody like myself, when I'm going, say, 3, 4, 5 times a week, for me, it's more on numbers. So I take it probably a month at a time. So I track what I'm doing 1 month. I look
Yeah.
at kind of like my lifts, my pushes. And I see like, right, this is kind of what I'm doing now. I want to just increase that minimally. each month, and then I know I'm progressively getting stronger,
Mhm.
which is perfect for kind of what I'm going for. Like I said, I'm not a power lifter, so I'm not going for massive weights, but getting stronger gradually over time is a goal that I'm very happy to set myself because it's realistic. I feel like a lot of people, especially when they start out, they set unrealistic goals. They think, yeah, I'm going to put on 50 pounds in a couple of months, which is
Yeah.
completely unrealistic. So, yeah, going back on track is I just track it month by month, just see if I can just slowly push the boat out and get
Mhm.
progressively stronger over time.
Of course, we are coming up to the Christmas period, and that means quite a bit
A
of
lot of Christmas
alcohol.
dinners.
Um, I'm sure that there's a lot of people watching this
Uh,
who will go to the football on a Saturday, go for a couple of drinks, and
mm,
then probably go for some more after the match as well. But how long does it take you to recover from a fairly medium session of drinking before the football, a heavy session afterwards?
I'd say like recovery is really dependent on the person, you know. Say
Mhm.
like me and you, for example, like
Yeah.
I can't drink this shit. So like it only takes me a few drinks. I'm everybody's friend. I'm cuddling people, telling them how much I love them. Like I'm a mess. So
Mhm.
for me, it takes a few drinks and that's it. I'm kind of written off. But say for your average drinker, the recovery is not actually that long. So you'd be quite surprised. Like you could effectively go to the gym the next day, depending on how much you've drunk.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's a really open question to how much you can drink. Like if anything, if weight's an issue, if you are drinking, I
Mhm.
would recommend staying away from lager, beer, and things like that, and just stick
Mhm.
to spirits because they're more empty calories. But just make sure you watch how much you're drinking.
Yeah.
We've all been there. You feel like you're all right, and then you have like a couple more, then you're hugging the toilet seat all night. So yeah, if you're asking for advice on what to drink, I'd say probably stick to spirits because they're not going to sit on your stomach as much.
Mhm. Also, of course, cardio
Mhm.
is quite an important part of
It
going
is
to the
indeed.
gym. Um,
Hmm.
and I've been doing 5K each time I go into the gym
Hmm.
recently, and probably takes just over half an hour on a good run. But how much do you have to mix it up with the weights as well?
See, I think cardio is super important, right? Because I feel
Mhm.
the fitter you are,
Yeah.
the more endurance and stamina you're going to have when you're focusing on exercises. I see it so much in the gym, Craig, where I said you get these meatheads, and like I said, they can't push for very long, and obviously they're taking other supplements to get to that size.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm at least doing cardio twice a week, like
Yeah.
at the minimum. Like I said, I do the boxing and Thai boxing on Wednesdays,
Mhm.
so I'll do that for a couple of hours. And then I'll just go for a run at least once throughout the week, just so I can kind of build that cardiovascular system. And plus, it gets my aerobic capacity at a higher level, so I can push that little bit more than I really need to dig deep for it. But yeah, to answer your question, cardio is super important for anything you do. I said it increases vitality, really.
And of course, if you can't get to a gym one day,
Mhm.
press ups, what sort of effect will those have?
Well, I suppose now, if you're missing the gym for one day,
Mhm.
it's not the worst thing in the world. But if you're going to stick to like home workouts, like push
Mhm.
ups and sit ups, like I said, they're not going to get you huge. Like I
Mhm.
said, 'cause it's time under tension and progressive overload. It's going to increase size. But,
Mhm.
if you're stuck in a hotel, like I said you've gone on holiday for a week or so, just doing those push ups, like I said the crunches, sit ups, like bicycles, things like that. They'll kind of just help maintain your size,
Hmm.
as long as you're controlling the movement. I said you can make them as hard as you want, really, just by kind of keeping the time under tension, and how much you actually pushing. I said you can do loads of things at home, but they're not probably going to get you massive.
You did mention there as well supplements, which is something that I've seen a lot of people take, and we could even go even further. Some people do take steroids and things like that, which is a big no-no.
Yeah.
You've got to your size by eating right and doing the right workouts. How dangerous are supplements, or how is there a place for them?
See, I feel like this is going to be quite controversial. I feel like in sports, right? I feel like there should be different categories, right? Like if you want to take supplements to enhance yourself,
Hmm.
I said there should be a category for that, because it really is pushing the boundaries. And obviously, it'll be super exciting to see somebody juiced to the gills do some crazy fucking lifts and stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, if you're a casual gym goer like myself, I don't think there's any need to take steroids or things like that. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on like young men nowadays to kind of look the part, to be more masculine, and to try and pull more women. So I feel like it's kind of what social media has kind of led them to
Hmm.
believe is right.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, steroids is a weird one, because I have taken steroids in the past myself. Like when I was younger, when I was like doing MMA and things like that, I was taking steroids just to try get an edge over my opponent. And
Hmm.
obviously, it does make you really strong, but it takes away from like your cardio and things like that as well. And I got septicemia once when I took steroids. So since then, like I said, for me, it's just completely put me off, because there's so many health risks that come with taking steroids, especially for casuals, because they don't know how to take them. You
Hmm.
don't know the post-cycle treatments when you come off of them. So for me, getting to the size I have done now, I've just stuck to like creatine. I take BCAAs just to kind of aid that recovery. But I know if I could inspire anyone, I'd say just don't worry about taking roids. Like they're not gonna change you in a massive way unless you're like a peak athlete
Hmm.
at that top level. So yeah, definitely a no for that.
Go on, you got to show off now. What is the biggest weights? And there is some videos, of course, that have been playing during this
Yeah.
video. But what's the biggest weights that you have actually pulled?
Yeah, so for me, like I said, I'm not really a strong lifter. I don't think. Like
Hmm.
where I do more like bodybuilding stuff, I suppose. My bench, I can do. I probably do 150. Well, probably about 160 for like a 1 rep max, maybe.
Hmm.
Lat pull downs, like from here to here, I'll probably do, I don't know, about 220 kilos, 230.
Hmm.
Bicep curls, I can do like 24s, not massive, 24s, 26s. Squats, to be fair, I've been genetically hindered with little peg legs.
Hmm.
So my squat, I can do about 140 on the squat. So I can bench more than I can squat. That's how bad it is. And deadlifts, I can do about 200 kilo deadlifts. So again, not massive, but that's pretty much where I am. So I'm really proud of my bench. Like, my bench, I think, is probably my strongest like muscle group, only because I've got quite short arms compared to a lot of other people my size.
Yeah.
So the actual movement coming down and up is a bit shorter. So it probably gives me that competitive edge, so to say, over some of my peers. But yeah, for me, they're probably my strongest lifts by far. If we're talking, yeah, bench 150, 160, 1 rep max.
Mate, I've got a way to catch up with you. You know, I
So
have got.
so far, I feel like when you get to 100 kilos,
Mhm.
Like it doesn't matter. Like after, like if you're doing 100 kilos, like that
Yeah.
shit, I think is heavy.
Mhm.
Like I can push the weight because I'm used to it. Like
Yeah.
so, if I'm doing 100 kilos, for example, I can do like 15, 20 reps on 100,
Yeah.
and then it's like every 10 after that, it feels like you're fucking trying to lift a car. So yeah, mate, trust me, like that's why I set these little goals of every month just to get like a little bit stronger.
Mhm.
And yeah, like trust me, I know the struggle.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, sorry, I completely interrupted you, Craig. I'm sorry, I got too eager.
No, no, no. Go for it, mate. Go for it.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
what are you lifting yourself then, Craig, nowadays?
well, at the moment, with regards to bar weights, I'm not lifting much at all. However,
Hmm.
on the machines, I can do good 70, 80, the pushes and the pull downs as well. The pull downs probably a little bit more. Probably get up to about 85, 90. So get in there. But I do need
50,
to transition off to the bar weights really.
you know, I think machines are great. Like
Mhm,
I said, they really help, especially if you've got injuries and things like that. I feel like they can really help, like stabilize your muscles.
mhm.
It's a very good point you actually bring that up, Craig. I mean, for new goers, like those machines will like train your muscles on how to like push or pull. I said effectively because unless you're kind of been going for a couple of years, you're considered an amateur still. There's
Yeah.
trying to get that mind over body connection.
Mhm,
I said it's really hard. So it's only over the last kind of year and a bit I've actually managed to like really connect my muscles on the movement that I'm doing.
mhm.
So for example, when I'm doing like bench press and things like that, it's quite easy to use like your shoulders and say like your biceps more than anything because you're really focusing on trying to just push the weight up, which it goes back to being a bodybuilder, right? Like it's all about focusing on contraction. So I'll favor doing lighter weights just so I can really feel the stretch in my chest.
Yeah.
And then I almost push the bar away so I can bring my chest up. And like I said, it really helps the engagement. But unless I started on the machines, I don't think I'd be where I am now. So 100%, I'd recommend it for any new starter. Machines, machines, machines.
One thing I find, and I'm going to make an admission here, is the balance sometimes is a problem for me when I'm doing the bar weights, when I'm doing the arm curls and then pulling
Yeah.
it up. I seem to lose a little bit of balance with that. But what sort of things would you suggest in that sort of circumstance?
Let's see, I would say lighter weight. Drop
Hmm.
the weight. A lot of people, they'll end up like stressing their muscles and then they'll
Hmm.
end up using obviously the more stable, stronger side to
Hmm.
compensate with that weight. So for me, I'd kind of keep it individual. So rather than doing like preacher curls like this, where you've got hold of the bar, I stick to
Yeah.
an individual weight on each side. So you're doing like barbell curls, for example, dumbbell curls, sorry. And I just do a lighter weight so you can do it consistently and evenly, and then gradually increase
Yeah.
over time. Or say if you are doing it on the machine, and like I said, you don't have that luxury of using dumbbells, for example, then I'd concentrate on using the side that is less engaged. So,
Hmm.
for example, I imagine when you're doing like, I don't know, preacher curls or anything like that on the machine, right? Or I said, preacher curls or whatnot. I imagine you feel it more on one side of your arm. It's kind of pulling the weight up, it might feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would make a conscious effort if it's focusing on this to try pull up with this, and
Hmm.
then just drop the weight a little bit, and then really concentrate on like squeezing that at the top, just so you can increase the stability. And then you'll notice probably after a few weeks that it's going to even itself out, and you'll be rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, we'll have to get you back on. By all means, people, leave your questions for Charlie below in the comment section, and we'll have to ask you some of the best ones. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm always open. I said follow my Instagram. There's loads of like tricks and tips that I leave on there, even some meal plans. Also, I've been working a lot on releasing, like I said, a workout program.
Yep.
So increase all the workouts week by week. Also give you full nutrition. And I'll tell you what, the first 10 people to do it after this video, comment Langtown, give me a follow, send me a message saying Langtown, and then I'll give you the first month for free.
Excellent. And do tell us how we can find the Instagram account.
Yeah, so if you just go to Instagram and the top of the search bar, just type Langtown Fitness, and yeah, you'll find me right there. And then yeah, drop me a follow. It goes a long way. It helped me kind of help push what I'm all about out to more people.
Mhm.
And yeah, hopefully we can kind of build a community that will help each other out.
Yep, most definitely, mate. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and it's been an absolute pleasure as always to have you on here. The link will be below as well in the description, guys. So please do go and follow Charlie. It does mean a lot to Charlie and also myself as well, because we've known each other for a long, long time now, and
Yeah, it has. It's definitely been a few years. As you can tell, I'm quite a rambler. I talk loads. So, you know, get me in a room with anyone, I'll sort their ear off.
yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. Well, you're gonna have to teach me a couple of things to actually get myself bulked up, and this time next year I'll look completely different.
I know that's a challenge right there now.
There we are. There we are. There is a challenge. I'm throwing that down to Charlie.
Right, let's get Craig
Sort
in shape for next year.
exactly, mate. Exactly. But yeah, thank you again, mate, and it has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh yeah, boy.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me, Craig. It's been good catching up.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this special show. Please do remember to hit the like, the subscribe, the bell button below, and also do remember to follow Charlie as well on his Instagram page. Please do check out all of our latest interviews as well. We do have some special interviews coming up. We've had Eddie Mitchell on, we've had James Hayter, Steve Fletcher, lots and lots more as well across this channel. So do hit that like, that subscribe, and that bell button. And please ask your questions away to Charlie below. But until next video, thank you for joining us, and up the cherries, and we'll see you in the next one.